Thanks everyone today for joining the podcast. Today on the show we have Patrick Kilpatrick. I don't know how I introduce such a guest with such long experience. I mean, he's been on a lot of podcasts, but he's worked with the likes of Tom Cruise, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Steven Spielberg, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bruce Willis. He is an actor, director, producer, writer, busy guy. So I'm really stoked to have you on today. How's it going today, Patrick?
Oh, it's going really well. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying it. We've got yet another cloudless cobalt blue sky today, and
Nice.
I go swimming twice a day in a pool that's not heated downstairs, and so it's always nice to backstroke and look up at the cobalt sky. So, and it's Friday.
Do you like work Saturdays as well?
We do, but generally weekends, if I'm not going to visit my grandchildren, that becomes days that my wife and I can focus just on writing rather than all the phone calls and films companies stuff that takes place and takes up a good portion of every day. So the writing stuff, the polishing of scripts and things like that, I really enjoy. So usually Saturdays and Sundays we're doing that. Maybe we'll hit a movie or I'm a member of the Television Academy Film Group, and so sometimes there's a movie that's playing on there. Um, uh, and again, sometimes there's grandchildren stuff. I'm very lucky. I've got three grandchildren right now, two girls and a boy, and they're delightful, if not challenging and work involved, but they're pretty hysterical.
Are you just as busy now as you were in your 30s and 40s and 50s?
I would say even more so because um, the film company just takes a great deal of time. I've sort of created this life for myself where there's work in every direction. Uh, there's script writing, script polishing. I mean, endless rewrites. We just finished a script with one director, Darren Sarafian, who directed Death Warrant that I did with him years ago with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And he was a good director then, and he's become a very accomplished director. He was the head guy on the television series House. And so we probably went through 8 or 9 drafts on the script just to get it right. And we're doing that. We have 3 other projects like that. Plus, I have my second volume of my memoir, which I've written, but I need to polish it and make sure that everything's ready for publication. So there's a good amount of work. And then there's always the following up on film stuff. It's no good writing all these things and have them be brilliant or as brilliant as you can make them and then not have the money to produce it. And so that involves a lot of work. I was made co-producer and casting agent of a new reality show called Hypno Challenge 2, where hypnotists work to help challenge people. And they hired me to get a celebrity host, and we got Eric Roberts to do that. And we're now getting celebrity guests to come in per episode. So that takes a certain amount of work and relationships. Um, but I'm very lucky. I get to do things on my own time. And I have a wonderful assistant, Maria Semoloiva, who's Ukrainian. And she is just a wizard with computer stuff. So I'm able to send out all the stuff really fast and communications and take dictations of letters and a lot of communication. So yeah, I'm much busier because there's not only acting, but there's screenwriting and film, film executive stuff and things like that.
So, how many projects, if you're looking at a Gantt chart, how many projects are you working on at the same time at different stages?
Uh, we have about 6 that we're working on right now. 6 plus the television show, so maybe 7. um, 7 projects that we're working on, one that we're in mid-production of, but we had to raise an additional 360,000 for the finishing funds. Um, so I'd say about 7. I mean, I've got a couple of things that are in treatment form after that. I don't know if I'll get to them though. You know, uh, we've got 4 or 5 that are advanced development that are ready to film. Uh, I say that because, people don't realize that getting a film ready, somebody will come to me and they'll go, I have a great idea for a film. Well, that's great. Well, get ready because there's so much work involved in getting that idea into shape. Uh, First in script and then strategic presentation materials. By that I mean, if you're dealing with streaming services or studios or high net worth individuals, you're looking for the funding. They don't want to read a script. They want to see something that's really visual and really tight and very quick that they'll be able to decide whether they're intrigued by the idea. So every project you have to put the script together, and again, there's constant rewriting on that. And then there's the strategic materials, the budgeting, the synopsis. Then you have to attach actors and directors to it. There's not a lot of attachments going on right now because of the strike. It's not that we couldn't call people, but it's pretty frowned upon by the union. If, in fact, they've made threats that if you try to cast a project right now, that you can be blackballed and they won't work with you again. So the sort of casting attachments is on hold. So we're just using the time to make sure that all the elements of the projects are really polished to their nth degree, so that we'll be ready when the script and the strike ends.
So if the
I'm
actors are not working, how are you going to make money? Like, where's the income coming from to keep you going?
Well, I'm very, very lucky because after a lifetime of acting, uh, I have the Screen Actors Guild pension, I have Social Security, I have uh, I have monies that come in from past jobs that I've done. But I have a consulting business where people hire me. Perhaps they have a book they want adapted, so they'll hire me first as a consultant, and then I, counsel them on what they need to have it get made into a fund, and they're almost universally happy with that. So we get hired to write the script, to do all the myriad of things I've just described. So there's always something going on. I mean, functionally, I wouldn't have to work if I didn't want to. And but and then there's non-union films that come in. I'm going to get ready to go and do a non-union western in Arizona. Um, there's a thing called FICOR. If you go, stands for Financial Core. If you go FICOR, which I have done, and a lot of top actors and actors have, you can do both union and non-union films. So I'm getting to go and do a film called Black Creek with Cynthia Rothrock. It's a martial arts western called Black Creek, and I'm leaving on the 12th actually to go to Arizona. Not long, 5 days or something. So there's always something going on, and the reality show. I'm really lucky because I've ended up doing so many different things that the universe always seems to provide me with somebody that needs some advice, or they need some contact to name actors, or they need script writing or consulting of any kind. So I'm usually picking up some money somewhere, and uh, I'm blessed though. Not everybody is in that position.
Yeah, and you're also a blessing to small podcasts like mine, like these well-known actors coming on a 1,000 subscribers podcast. For me, it's a very I don't understand why you would want to spend the time talking to me sometimes. But
Well, I don't do a lot of research on the. I mean, if we had talked, I was about to say, what do you do with the podcast? What do you do? Put it up on YouTube or something? But oh, by the way, the other thing I'm involved in was we're about to do a Kickstarter campaign for Dying for Living, which is this film I wrote, directed, produced, and am starring in, along with an extraordinary cast: Costas Mandylor, Olivia Gruner, Nina Bergman, Tatiana Neva, Cynthia Rothrock, Keegan Machado, eight-time world jiu-jitsu champion, um, the Wall twins, a delightful set of twins who are 13, 14 years old. Even my son Sam Kilpatrick is in it. So it's a really cool, colorful action film, and we need to raise some money to finish it. And so we're doing a Kickstarter campaign. That's pretty much in place, but it's last couple of months have been a lot of creating a lot of videos for that. Um, I don't know. I've always been accessible to podcasts, and it's one way of communicating with the world and getting out to them. And you know, whether it's a large podcast or a small podcast, you're just speaking with your audience and connecting to the world about different things. And that's basically it. That's the promotional aspects of what we do. It's like social media. I'm not really crazy involved in social media, although we post a fair amount of stuff. But um, I've always put my energies in the actual script writing or fundraising or acting or whatever, rather than being overly devoted to pointing a camera at myself. And so I let you do it.
yeah. So you made an interesting point a few minutes ago about you have a really good script story and you go to companies and they want to see visuals. When you say visuals, do you mean like handwritten, like screenshots? What kind of
No,
stuff?
um, a lot of people do it in different ways. There's such a thing as called a lookbook or a pitch deck. And basically, those things uh, communicate to whoever you're talking to without the script about what the movie is about. Maybe the cinematic signature, the look of it, the place, the period, the time, the log line, the synopsis, that kind of thing. Well, we take that concept and we kind of and break it up into maybe seven different components. And we're shooting them out. Maybe the first thing we call the intro piece, which is no more than 3 slides. And, if they're not responding to that and saying, hey, this looks really cool, let me read the script, they're probably not going to be interested in the movie. I mean, a rudimentary and important one, a strategic material might be a poster. You do a poster for the movie. That's not what we do, but we do eventually. But if you do a poster of a material, you show somebody the poster, because what people don't realize, particularly screenwriters, nobody reads scripts really, not very much, unless they want to. They have to feel compelled. Now, look, I've done 200 films and television shows as a lead actor and screenwriter and stuff like that, so I can get people to read scripts. But imagine how many scripts the head of production at Netflix is reading in a week, if they're reading scripts. So we're trying to cut through that and say, hey, is this something you're interested in? So
Yeah.
most lookbooks and pitch decks that I know of are either not very good and they're overly long. The guys at Netflix or Amazon or the studios and stuff, they don't have time to go through pitch decks, much less read scripts. So you've got to hit them quick, boom, boom, boom. Just a quick email, a quick telephone conversation, and a quick visual presentation of what your idea is. And they'd say, hey, yeah, this looks really cool. That's send the script over.
I'm having a lot of fun with this. DALI artificial intelligence generated images. Actually, yesterday I was doing it for about 10 hours, and OpenAI, which runs DALI E image generation, they says you can't use it for 24 hours. You're using it too much. So you can AI can really bring these ideas that you couldn't even imagine. I'm like, I was doing some experimenting today. Like, what would a gun at the size of an atom look like shooting at like a virus? And it generated some of these images, like just so like I wouldn't come up with that in myself. So I think these tools can speed up that process. And I have a couple of plots that I want to put into a script myself, but or even just do a narration on YouTube, but I don't have the graphical skills, and it was kind of delaying me from doing it. But now I think I can just go to the AI and ask it to generate the pictures and use that as the overlay, so I can narrate the story. So that's going to really help me.
Well, that can be useful. But largely a film, like we have a Western that takes place in 1540. They didn't have a lot of photographs in 1540. So we had to use paintings and drawings, and sometimes we used photographs that were from another age that fit to create stuff. So I can see the value of AI in certain circumstances, as long as you have to communicate to somebody that we're not intending to do an animated film, or it's not meant to be like a graphic novel. It's a live action movie. And that's where photographs tend to be very useful, And also, doing that search is really helpful in knowing how to tell the story, what visuals you're going to use. They can inspire the script writing a lot, the set decorating, the wardrobe, all the production heads. Those things are really interesting. So I'd say in the main, we use photographs. Uh, when we can't get that, then we have to use paintings and drawings and stuff like that. But yeah, that's an interesting deal. I haven't used the AI for that yet. Can you put a different kind of artist into the AI? I'm sure you can. Like, because a lot of it for me looks, it has a certain quality. And so if I wanted to, can you feed it photographs, or can you feed it a different style of artistry to come up with
Yeah,
something?
you sure can. So
Yeah.
like I did a few pictures for some of my episodes where I wanted a manga style, but the ones where I'm doing like tanks and ships, I want it to be as photorealistic as possible. So you just tell it I want it to be photorealistic, or you tell it I want it in black and white, or I want it to have. And sometimes it just makes it up, and it'll put like little printing dots
Yeah.
to make it look like it's a, it's. I
Where
just lost. I got off my daily work, and I must have spent 20 hours on it in the last 2 days.
we've been begun to use it in numbers stuff. You feed the script in, and you feed the cast, and it whatever elements you've got, distribution contracts or whatever, and then it comes out with numbers, which can help in when you're pitching uh, to investors. It's a further layer of, it's beyond the normal. Okay, well, Reservoir Dogs made $100 million, so we think this one is going to make $100 million. Well, you say beyond comparables, you can say uh, our AI program says that this one is going to, and then if you drop a different casting person in there for the lead, it tells you what the difference in money is. So it's a further layer of being able to get away from just pure gut level speculation as to how much money a movie's going to make.
Well, you could do that with you could train your AI to do that. You basically what's called machine learning. You have basically a list of actors as inputs, and then you maybe have like and outputs would be like the money that's generated, and you basically feed on all the films, and it
Yeah.
will sort of look at the actors, and there'll be different ways to weight up the actors, like how much time they spent in it, and then you could probably produce some kind of statistics from that. That's I guess how I would advise
It,
the team to use
the
it. But
truth is, it's still speculative, though.
yeah, sure.
It's still it's maybe a different tier of guesswork, but it's still. And I really don't think art should be created necessarily along the lines of that exclusively. I think you have to go with your instincts and your intuition to a certain extent. But it's an interesting time. I try to keep up on it, and not to the exclusion of artistic intuition. You know, are you okay? You look like you've frozen there for a second.
No, I'm just my body's slowing down. I guess for this cold. I'm fine. I can go another 3 hours, no problem.
Well,
So, what is it that makes a good villain in Hollywood? What are they looking for, and why you always
good villain.
typecast as a villain almost? Yeah.
Well, I wrote my memoir, the first volume called Daunting Sins and Confessions of a Hollywood Villain and Libertine Patriot. And part of what I was trying to get at was why did I end up playing villains so much? Part of it is what I call institutional typecasting. Everybody's lives are so fast and furious that they make what is expedient choices of casting, and everybody is subject to that. Whether you're a good guy or a bad guy or a actress, actor, young, old, whatever, they make expedient decisions. Somebody who's done something before well, and that's really all it is. You do a good job. Take a guy like Rutger Hauer. He did. He started out a leading man, and he was really good at that. And then he did The Hitcher, and he had a tough time getting out of villains for a while. You have to be willing to say no and look for something different. But then he kind of ended his career playing wizards, because once you do a good job at anything, every job you get offered for the next 2 years is the same thing. And it gets almost absurd, like you'll do cowboys that are bad guys who become good guys. And then all you get for 2 years is cowboys who are bad guys who get redeemed for 2 years. So that's kind of the way it goes, because all the casting people talk, and if you do one series for Warner Brothers, then all of a sudden you're going to be in every series that Warner Brothers has got, and it's going to be a similar part. Now, I never really objected to that because the villains were different guys. They weren't the same people. But I think I brought to the equation a particular kind of energy that I could access different stuff, and that's why it lent itself to that. Um, I mean, I remembered after I had finished the book that in first grade, my first grade class did a play, and they cast me as the villain in the play when I was, like 6, 7 years old. So whatever it was, I had a particular kind of energy to that. The other thing is I really kind of had to learn how to play a bad guy. The irony is that it's much simpler generally to play a good guy, because they kind of just say the lines and it's much more challenging energy wise to play a psychotic than it is to just play a good guy. Depending on the role, there are individual differences, but I just got known for it, and it's just like known for being a hitter in baseball or shortstop. You do a good job of it. The trick is artistically is not to lean back on old tricks that have worked for other jobs. You want to create something new, and I would look around and see where villainhood, if you will, where it stands right there in the cinematic moment in time, and always come up with something good. I mean, I'm playing a good sheriff in this Western, so it's not been exclusive, but yeah, I'm mostly known for playing bad guys. The way of the world. What can I tell you?
I guess you have to work out a lot. Is that a gym you've got behind you? That you just a
That is,
workout machine or something?
this is a company called Hoist, and they do the best gym equipment. And when COVID happened, all the gyms were closed, so I put this in the room here, and it's great. Um, I can watch UFC fights or movies, and I do that relentlessly. And I've got a big giant, I call it T-Rex, elliptical bike over here, and Hoist. They really make great equipment because they isolate the parts of you that is not exercising and make it very comfortable, so you can be. Uh, and I belong to a gym up the street that has the industrial strength hoist stuff, which is for gyms, and that's on a whole nother level. I think they're the finest gym equipment company around. I ran into them when I was doing a NCIS job in New Orleans, and the hotel where I stayed had it. And so, yeah, I try to do something every day. I go swimming in the morning and in the night in a cold plunge pool, which is a lifesaver. Strips that computer energy, writer energy off of you, and you can get back to it. And then I'll work out at night sometimes, not sometimes, most days, I'll work out watching UFC fights or movies. I'm a big believer in watching movies over and over and over to see how they're doing stuff. Like I've probably seen Saving Private Ryan 50 times. Aside from it being a very powerful and great movie, but to watch how they're doing stuff, uh,
Yeah.
studying it scene by scene. Uh, there's also a lot of watching we do, both my wife and I, to keep current with young actors because we have to cast them in movies and stuff, and see, be above and beyond the ones that everybody knows. Right now we're doing a World War II story, and it's all the guys were 18, 19, 20. So the challenge there is they're not bankable. It's hard to raise money with 18, 19, 20-year olds. But that's who you need guys that are at that age. I mean, people were old if they were 25 or 26 in World War II. The only saving grace is they tend to look older then. So if somebody was 26, they looked like they were in their mid 30s. So sometimes you can get away with a little older actor there.
Do you think that the bankable stars is a sort of dying breed? Like these new actors, they won't reach the levels of fame that people like, for example, that some of the guys, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tom Cruise, and that.
Well, there are different levels. I think it still exists it really powerfully still exists in the fact that you have about 20 guys that for action movies, you need to put them in there in order to command X amount of dollars for your budget. And then there's a tier above that if you're going into like 4, 5, $8 million, you got to get into the big. First of all, the distribution game is you have to be a miracle worker because what the distributors are going to want is always nearly impossible because and meanwhile those lists of actors, they know that they're on those lists, so they want so much money that it guts the budget. And by the way, there's a finite number of them, and every independent film wants one of those guys in their movie, so they've only got X amount of time in a year because they want to do studio movies because that's where all the money is. And then you've got all your independent films trying to get one of those 20 guys, or there's some few women on there. So it's a huge challenge. Um, First, of the way that we mitigate that, you got to have a brilliant script and a brilliant production team and a brilliant director, hopefully, that will attract the actor come to that. But so I don't think it's a dying breed in a distribution realm. No, names and who's in it is still very powerfully driving a lot of the money. Now, there's a lot of movies that get made that don't have a lot of stars in them, but they're usually original productions that are coming out of Netflix, or they're doing their own stuff, and they can run on an ensemble situation or something like that. But um, then there are movies you just got to have Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and that kind of stuff are in it, and if you're short of that, you just can't raise money for them.
I tend not to remember much of Brad Pitt's work. I just find Tom Cruise more interesting to watch. I think this is my personal preference. Some of his watch
I
one of
think
his movies, Oblivion, is one of my
Brad's
favourites.
a very good actor. I think he's been an underestimated actor his whole life. If you look at his first movie, America, he made choices that you don't often make. Uh, I think he's fine. I think Tom does a great job too. At the same time, I think Brad. Of course, guys like that are now, they're executive producing and producing their own movies, and they're into that. And that's a whole other realm. So, we just that's one way you can get a movie made. Get one of those guys attached if you can get them excited for their own production company to be the principal player in the movie. Otherwise, it's really hard. It's really hard. And all these guys know their value, and they're always asking for more money than the distributors are willing to offer. So it's a real conundrum, a real catch 22.
It seems like there's a higher percentage of people in your industry that are victims or self-imposed victims of drugs and substance alcohol abuse. Why do you think that is?
You're the second person in about 2 weeks that, no, actually, you were the first person that asked
Yeah.
me when we were talking. I'm not so sure that's true. If you really line it up next to the general population, there's a lot of drug addicts. I mean, look at the addict recovery business. It's billions and billions of dollars. So there's a lot of people needing recovery. I'm not so sure. I mean, sure, certainly there's a level of entitlement that probably comes to some immature performers and actors, particularly if they're young, that may develop a real problem. I think that's a problem for people to feel like you're entitled to something, which you're really not. Um, so um, that may be a big issue, but I don't know. There's a lot of addicts out there. I'm surprised that there aren't more people going off because of their addiction, because life can be very, very challenging on a lot of levels, financially and emotionally for a lot of people. But, how you handle that is how you handle it. And a lot of people are just medicating themselves with alcohol and pot and drugs and stuff like that. So I don't know. It'd be an interesting question to do some research on it. I don't think Hollywood is necessarily any more drunks or drug addicts than the general population.
Hmm. So, working as an actor director is very hard work, and a lot of these people, obviously, they're on set a lot of hours together. Do you find that actors like to hang about with other actors outside of work, or would it be like me where I don't really hang about with programmers when I'm not programming, and you know?
Well, I mostly can speak to myself. I have a really tight circle of people that I'm spending time with, and most of them are work connected. And then there's my wife and my grandchildren, and that and some working out. I don't have much time for anything else. Now, you go to events occasionally and you'll see the same people, and then that's nice. And after, I would call some of those people friends, but I've never been a big person who needed a here's the conundrum. It's a relationship business. Uh, you do business with people you have relationships with. That's why I try to call actors that I've worked with before, and I have their home numbers, not so I can skirt their agent, but so that I can have a direct connection with the actor and then bring their agent involved, but have an understanding with the actor at the same time. So, I've got a lot of people I know. Would I call them close friends? No, they're close acquaintances. But the beyond family, there's not. I mean, also, look, I've worked with Tom Cruise. Doesn't mean I hang out with Tom Cruise. I haven't seen him since Minority Report, but once, and it was a nice meeting and a nice talk. But pretty hard to run around with a guy who's making $100 million a picture. You gotta. I don't. I'm not saying you got to stay within your class, but it's just like some people have that gift. Uh, there's a guy he's going out with Reba McEntire now named Rex Lynn. He's an actor. He was on CSI for a long time. He's a really good actor and a character actor. And Rex has a tremendous gift to become the best friend of the lead actor in the movie that he's in. Patrick, on the other hand, is so busy doing the work or writing a script or something like that that I just never put the time and energy into. I've done 2 movies with Tom Selleck. If I saw him, we'd have a wonderful time talking. But I don't spend a lot of time hanging out and turning Tom Selleck into my best friend. Um, a good, solid working acquaintance. And I don't really approach these people unless I have something good. Like this morning, we sent out some offers for this reality show to some people, and I count them as my friends, but I haven't talked to them for years. It's like, hey, do you want X amount of dollars to appear in this show? Or, hey, they put me in charge of bringing celebrities to this film festival. Do you want all your expenses paid to go to this film festival? I try to bring them something of value before I call them up. Hey, do you just want to have a beer? No, that doesn't usually. It's not. It's just me. And I've never been a big guy who needed a lot of friends. I was much more interested in doing the work. Now that sounds cold. It's not. It's just I've got some friends and I've got a lot of acquaintances, but there's not a lot of time in the day. What can I tell you?
Yeah, that's the author C.S. Lewis. He says that he doesn't understand why people would have more than 120 friends in life, and it takes effort to develop a friendship. And I've got a lot of my friends still in Scotland, and they're grown up. We have different life choices and different things that we do completely different, but because I've known them for 20, 30 years, I enjoy the company more than people that are, say, high and flying and whatever, much more successful. I don't really care because the emotional stuff is there. But one of the reasons that I do this podcast is it gives me an excuse. Joe Rogan says the same thing, to sit down and have a decent conversation with somebody, because it's like sitting down and having a beer, but it's like there's value for it as well for the listeners and myself in the future.
Of course there is, and I try to invite people to have lunch on me and things to really establish a nice relationship. But there's just a limited amount of time that you can do it. COVID actually was really great for business. You could do all these things with Zoom calls instead of having to drive and go to lunch with everybody. So you could. Do I love being social with people? Sure, when I have got the time.
Another thing that's very interesting about you, Patrick, is that you're interested in politics, and we have a similar interest in that. I think that having a home should be a human right. And I'm in Scotland quite a lot of time, or in England. There's lots of spare land, and we have the technology to build homes. We can print homes basically with a printer, almost concrete printer. It's just so we shouldn't have be struggling to pay our rent and have as human beings. We should be able to enjoy our lives without having landlords breathing down our necks. And I reckon you're quite passionate about that. And I don't know what the solution is apart
I
from
am
being like
quite.
communists and take the land.
You listen. Have you ever been a landlord? I think
No.
you have to have empathy for those. Like, you can't. It's not easy being now. I don't have any sympathy for somebody who's a bad landlord, but being a good landlord, I have empathy for them because you can't get. Think you if people decide they're not paying rent, it's almost impossible to get them out of their apartment. So, maybe I'm not so sure that the universe owes us anything without what we have to earn. You know, uh, I don't think healthcare should bankrupt people, but what gives us the right to have a house?
Well, I think we should have a right to have a house cheaply, not just people buying houses for investments and pushing up
There,
the price of everybody else. You know.
well, look, Malibu, which is one of the richest places on the planet Earth. Look, I think you're talking about a central question here is what is the best way for people to use their own drive and their own uh, wherewithal, coupled with a system of government that is both compassionate and supportive of the populace. Um, I think arguably you could say that we here in America got into a lot of trouble when we became with the fostering of a welfare state. Whereas America generally did very, very well when people had to climb upward using their own initiative and their own energies. So you want to foster people's own energies and their own initiative. At the same time, having a compassionate form of government that preserves the central basis for government, which is the defense of the country or the entity, the well-being of the thing. And government does that very, very well. And it's important for government to not be corrupt. So I don't think, I think a little baby, has a right to a sustaining and healthful existence. Beyond adulthood, I think that's up to the adults' initiative and drive to create that. And um, I don't think it should be handed to a populace because a couple of things happen. Number one, you're fostering fraud of the situation left, right, and center. There's never been a system that's been put in place that people didn't try to take advantage of it. And so I'd be very, very, very wary of providing a system of governance and support to people that hands over the basics of life. I think those things have to be constructed by individual initiative. It has to be supported, like with small business loans or student loans or healthcare that's affordable to a certain extent. But given outright to people, no, I don't think anybody has a right to a house. You have to create a house. You have to create a home. And people have far greater abilities than they give themselves credit for. It's a tenet of the Navy SEALs that every man or woman is capable
I see where you're coming from.
Well, I see where you're coming from. Perhaps you're struggling with rent, but by the way, it's just a matter of degree. Even this is what people think. Even rich people, a lot of rich people have issues paying for a lot of things. Now, my problem is, why does one have children if one is existing in poverty? Well, it's probably ignorance and lack of vision and foresight. If you are living in poverty, you shouldn't be bringing children into the earth until you've risen to a certain level by your own initiative. And there are systems in place for people to be brought out of poverty. Self-accountability has to be a mainstay of human existence. So I guess in that sense, look, if I run into a corrupt system, I'll fight it tooth and nail. But largely my life, and I think the majority of people's lives, they have to accept self-accountability for it. If you don't have a house, move someplace where you can afford one. And that's why we get the rejuvenation of different areas. The east side of New York, when I lived in Manhattan, it was all drug addicts and slums, east side of New York. What happened? Artists and young people couldn't afford any place else in Manhattan. So they went there and they upgraded it. They got affordable apartments and made it better. And that's part of the renewal and growth of human existence. If I can't afford a house in LA, which I really can't, then I need to move someplace else. And it's one reason why I don't even own a home. I have had a home. I gave it away to a wife in a divorce so my children wouldn't have to leave their house years and years and years ago. But I wouldn't buy one here. But I bought land in Colorado, and I did very, very well with it. So, you're right. Not everybody is clever, and not everybody is able to make every system work. But an effort has to exist to try to do that. I don't get provided with pure water coming out of the tap. So I have to buy pure water from a pure water company. I don't think that's right. I think the state should provide pure water coming out of the tap. But in the absence of that, I'm going to provide myself with pure water. It's easy when things are challenging to go, somebody else should be giving me something. I don't think that's the appropriate action. How do I, as a person, get myself out of the situation that I'm in through my own wits and my own attention to the environment that I'm living in? I think therein lies the greatest satisfaction at the end of the day for an individual. You're living in
I live in 3 countries.
What?
I live in 3 countries.
Well, you can't tell me that there's not an opportunity for getting a house in those 3 countries. There is. I have my wife's sister. They're chefs, and they're really good with their hands. And they now have a beautiful house in the south of France that they crafted out of their own being. I'm not envious because I don't get envious, but they're extraordinary. So people need to cultivate those things. It's interesting. I'll give you an example. I've known a lot of women that, like, I had a girlfriend a long time ago. She was a great fashion designer. She got involved with a guy who was a billionaire. She stopped being a fashion designer.
Yeah.
So my point is, because of economic realities being removed from her life, her artistic wherewithal went away. And so I think, look, I have become an acting teacher because I needed to make money. I learned that I loved being an acting teacher, and I really enjoyed doing it, and I made that business work. I became a consultant because I wanted to make more money. I became a writer because I wanted to be beyond being prey to the ups and downs just of acting. A producer, a director. Economic challenges force us to broaden our scope of our abilities. I'm not so. In fact, I don't think that should be taken away from people. You want a house? You're perfectly capable of finding yourself a house, as am I. So I think government needs to not be corrupt, and it needs to have really good leadership and stuff, but it also needs to foster a population that is intelligent and informed and able to function on their own initiative. I think our biggest problem is we have a fairly uneducated and uninformed populace to a lot. Even with all the internet and all the stuff coming in, they're historically illiterate. They have not been highly educated. The public school system is not educating people to a point where they really can make critical decisions about aspects of their lives. So, on one level, it's not a great time. On another level, there's opportunities everywhere.
I do agree with the sentiments. Well, Patrick, it was an honour to get to know you, and fascinating life you have so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with next. And who knows, maybe we'll be able to collaborate on some projects in the future. We'll see how it goes.
Well, I can tell you right now, point me in the direction of someone who has a lot of money who wants to get into the film business, and we'll treat them very, very well, and you'll get treated very, very well, and you'll be involved in the greatest films on the planet, among them. So that's one way. But just being friends is enough, just being friends is enough. So there's always ways to collaborate. But I can't collaborate with Tom Cruise unless I bring him something really good. Collaboration means, so that's why I try to bring people gifts as we go along.
Certainly brought me some information, interesting knowledge gifts today. So have a good day, sir, and I'll see you shortly.
You too. God bless, man. Feel better.
God bless you, man.
All right.
Yeah. See you guys.